Hi, I'm back. I'm a little sweaty. I was just doing some exercising and, uh, and thinking about sports. So I've been talking about the pecking order, and that gets to competition because the pecking order makes for competition. We want to be above the other, so we compete to to win, which is to be one above the other. Collaboration can be part of sports as well, and the collaboration of team and teammates. So you get collaboration and competition. But the pecking order is really centered on competition. So, in sports, when we're kids, if you played sports in the neighborhood, one of the first things you do when you go out, you're gathering together for a pickup game, is you even up the teams. So you kind of try to make the teams as even as possible. The other thing that happens is if while you're playing, if one team is really winning by a lot, you have things like a slaughter rule. You stop the game. Or, why? Because it's not fun anymore. There's something happening in both of those. Or, the next time that you play, you're like, well, we got to change the teams up. So what's happening is that, we know, even as kids at every level, that competition has a place. But we know that it's not as fundamental as our mutual relationships. The relationships of our friendships and the relationships that that make us a community, that make us together. So what happens is that if the competition actually finds its place within the sense of community and mutual relationship, then it actually helps. It serves a place to benefit everyone, so that everyone enjoys, everyone grows, everyone benefits. So the problem is that if competition gets into the fundamental place and it gets ahead and outside of relationship and mutual benefit, that's when you have domination. Because I call it competition has to be nested in collaboration. It has to be nested in some sense of human relationship and love. When it's nested in that, then it has a place and it serves that. It actually can make us better in its certain places in society. But when it gets out of the nest, then competition, and it starts to creep into becoming the foundation. It supersedes our relationships. It starts to destroy equality. It's no longer mutually beneficial. It's beneficial for some and not for others. It scatters people. It causes division. It creates mountains and valleys, and it begins to hurt people. And not only that, who's having fun when the same team is winning all the time? It's just one team and no one else is having fun. And really no one's growing in that. No one's really growing when it's just one team dominating all the time, or one player or one person dominating all the time. We know from instinctively that competition has to be nested in that mutual beneficial sense of community, friendship, and relationship, and can actually strengthen it. But once it gets outside of it, we stop. No, slaughter rule, we got to change up the teams, we got to even it out. Why? Because once competition gets out and you have the pecking order untamed, then damage starts, war, fights. It destroys community. It's like a beast gone wild. So in society, there are places to have that sense of pecking order, not just competition, but you see sort of hierarchy. You see it in the military, or you see it in business in certain places. But it has to stay within the context at the service of our mutual benefit of community and relationship. And when it gets too important, when it gets too big, when it leaves that nest, then it starts to creep into actually being the foundation of things. It starts to cause division. It creates mountains and valleys in society. All of the suffering, oppression, people having severe advantages or disadvantages, and society falls apart. It becomes every person for themselves. And then when that happens, it's time, just like we did when we were kids, to call, no, time out. We need to make the teams fair again. We need to call the slaughter rule. And the problem is that if we don't recognize that that's happening, we start to hang on to principles and use those that came from a time when there wasn't slaughter going on, when there was everyone, like I said before, having pretty much good and equal property. Well, when everyone has pretty much good and equal property, and that's generally happening, you can have competition, and you can start to say, hey, I should have a right to do what I want. Yeah, no one should be coming in and telling me, yeah, because there are natural limits that show up when you have this sort of sense of equality of property, equality of it, of income, and that, if you want to talk about income. But when you have things skewed and there's domination going on, then you can't say that anymore. It's just the same thing that we knew. Now, the only people who say that basically are the people who are further up, who are benefiting, who are doing the slaughtering. You know, things are going good for me, so I don't want to train. And that's the same thing that happens like in sports. If you're a Patriots fan, like, you like the fact the Patriots are winning every year, but that's no one else does, and that's really not good. That's not healthy for the whole league. It's not healthy for football, for sport, to have the same team winning all the time. That's just, we know that it's the slaughter rule. It's time to even things up and spread things out. So Patriots fans don't like to hear that, but that's why people start to not enjoy it. And people start to not enjoy, it's the same team that wins every year. It stops becoming mutually beneficial. People stop enjoying and stop growing. And that's all throughout all of society. And it goes back to something that we know as kids in the neighborhood. It's something innately, inertly human in that. And if the pecking order gets control and we accept that some really can dominate and others are down the mountains and valleys, and we just say that that's part of society, and we let slaughter go on in that way, socially, it disintegrates society. It gets sick. And if society is sick, you can see the fruits and the things that happen when certain encounters begin to happen in society, like are happening between the recent issues of police and in the Black American majority communities. And sickness eventually leads to death. So if we don't make changes, death happens. And so I'll pick up on the theme of death the next time that I pick up the words.